Hey guys, welcome to a brand new video on my channel, Meg's Movies. If you are new to this channel, this is basically where I talk to you guys about my passion for movies. This goes from collections, hauls, reviews, and today's video, so let's get into it. Okay, and we're back with another top 10 list. Obviously I did top 10 Halloween movies. Now I'm doing top 10 horror movies. Now these are my top 10 favourite horror movies. I will say this can be interchangeable, just for the simple fact of there is a lot of horror movies that I enjoy. But these are the ones that come to mind at the moment, or they're ones that I've watched more recently, so they're more fresh in my mind. So some of these are classics, some of these you'd probably know what would be in there. But there's a couple in here that might surprise some people. But this is in a particular order. This is from 10, which is my favourite, to then number 1, which is my ultimate favourite. And if you're not new to this channel and you're one of my regular subscribers, you probably know what number 1's going to be. But yeah, so let's get into it. So these are my top 10 favourite horror movies. There's a couple of horror comedies in this, but at the end of the day, these are the ones that I enjoy the most. So yeah, so let's get into it, starting with number 10, and that is The Blair Witch Project. I really enjoyed this film. I still have very strong memories about this film. Watching this in drama class and the teacher having the lights off. Then the ending comes up. The teacher jump scared a couple of the students. So funny. It made me jump, but it also made me laugh at the same time, hearing the girls scream. But no, this is a found footage film. In fact, this is probably one of the first found footage films that made found footage very popular. We've had a lot of found footage films since. I mean, the next one is one of my favourites as well. I mean, you've had things like Grave Encounters, things like that. So if it weren't for this film, I don't think found footage would be as popular as it is now. Can't speak English. I also like the fact of, I didn't know this until a few years ago when I found this out, that they made it seem like this was an actual thing, like these students actually had gone missing. Did not know that. There was a website and everything. They'd say they made this seem so real. And I love that. That's a pretty cool thing for a horror movie to do. I do enjoy that. But I'd say it is just such a unique horror film. And say, when it's found footage, I feel like it's a little bit more creepier because you are watching it sort of like in a POV kind of way. So you feel like you're part of it. So also, to be honest, this did scare me quite a bit when I was younger. Now, it doesn't scare me so much, but I still enjoy this film. And number 9 is the second found footage film that I've got on this list, and probably the only other one. Yeah. And that is Paranormal Activity. Now, I know a lot of people weren't a massive fan of this franchise, but you know what? I enjoy it. There's a couple of them that aren't that great, but the first one will always be iconic to me. Honest to God, this is absolutely just the idea of just watching this one camera angle going on, and you're looking everywhere to see what's going to move, if there's going to be a shadow across the door, if something's going to happen. And they build up nicely as well. I think the pacing in this is done really well. The first couple of nights, nothing really major happens, but then on the third night onwards, it starts to pick up and gradually go. But I like the couple in this as well. I think they're a fun little couple. They are believable. And I'm actually currently rewatching this whole franchise. So expect a ranking of the Paranormal Activity films. Especially since I was going to do one when Next to Kin come out, but then I never did. So, but I've been in the mood to watch it since I picked up the new box set. But yeah, so rewatching this yesterday, I forgot how much I enjoyed this film, to be honest. Like, it's just that one camera angle where you're just watching the bedroom. Every single time I watch it, I'm still looking for things, just in case I've missed it before. And not only that, the ending still makes me jump every single time. I don't know why. I like the fact there's an alternate ending and an original ending to this. So the one in here, you've got theatrical and the alternate. But there's also an original ending. So if you want to see that, just type in original ending Paranormal Activity and that will pop up. I'm glad they went with the theatrical one. But the other two endings are quite good as well. But for a first movie, especially since this was probably one of the more major found footage films we got since Blair Witch. I think we had a couple here and there, but I think this one helped kick it up again, if you catch my drift. But no, at number 9, Paranormal Activity. Okay, at number 8, people might be surprised at how low this is on my list, but it's still one of my absolute favourites, and that is A Nightmare on Elm Street. Now, my earliest memory of this is actually, funnily enough, when my sister was watching this. Now, bearing in mind, she is 3 years younger than me. I know. And she was watching this at the age of, I think, 9, 10. She was enjoying this. But I walked into the Johnny Depp scene at that point, and it creeped me out. So I hadn't watched it for years. Until a few years ago, when I finally decided, you know what, I've got to give it a go now. I'm older, you know, shouldn't be that scary. I now really enjoy this film. It's such a unique concept, sorry. And it's one of Wes Craven's best films, after Scream, of course. But honestly, Freddy Krueger, such a unique villain. I mean, the fact that he haunts your dreams, and just, for months after seeing that Johnny Depp scene, I could not sleep without thinking about Freddy Krueger, and that terrified me. So if you want a gateway horror, this is one I'd recommend, especially with the special effects. Such a good film. Okay, at number 7, people will be surprised that this is low as well, but it is still one of my absolute favourites, and that is Child's Play. Absolutely love this film. Funny thing is, dolls creep me out. He doesn't. He makes me laugh. Other dolls I've watched, not so much. Him and Megan, but there's some other dolls that I've watched and gone, no thank you. But no, Child's Play, absolutely amazing franchise. Not gonna lie, there are a couple of films I don't like in the franchise, but I still enjoy them. Kind of like Nightmare on Elm Street, where I don't absolutely completely hate a couple of the films, but I still get some enjoyment out of each one of the films. But as I say, Child's Play is an absolute classic. I mean, Brad Dourif made this his own. I love Chucky's voice. And say, as we get more development from Chucky, it's just great. But say, this is the one where he's the most creepiest, I think, in my eyes. But no, Child's Play, if you have not watched it, seriously recommend you do. Okay, at number 6, just a little bit higher than these two, is Freaky. I really enjoyed this film. I was quite surprised at how much, actually, because I'd watched the trailer for it. I thought it looked pretty good. It might be just one of those ones where it's going to be okay. Enjoyed this more than I thought I was going to. And say, I wish I got to see it in the cinema, but I didn't. But honest to God, when I picked up this edition, I was so happy. Freaky Friday, but in murder form. Who would have thought it? And these two did absolutely amazing. I wouldn't mind another movie with these two in it. In fact, I wouldn't mind a Freaky 2, just to see what would happen next. But honest to God, Freaky, such a good slasher film. If you want a modern slasher film, definitely recommend this one. Okay, we're now into my top 5. And at my number 5, Zombieland. One of very few zombie films that I enjoy. I mean, I like Shaun of the Dead and other ones like that. But Zombieland is my go-to zombie film. I get such a good laugh out of this. So much enjoyment. The makeup effects for the zombies look brilliant. And to be honest, it's Tallahassee for me. Tallahassee trying to look for a freaking Twinkie. Yep, the whole entire film. Like, that is all he wants. Absolutely hilarious character. I love him. I do like the second one as well, but for me it is the first one, hands down. Honest to God, so many good actors in this, and it's just, honest to God, if you have not watched Zombieland, definitely recommend you do. I like the rules of surviving Zombieland as well. That's hilarious, and they developed that in the second one. Love it, absolutely love it. Okay, at number 4, this one I don't think will surprise many people because I have expressed how much I enjoyed this film, and that is Ready or Not. This, honest to God, surprised me more than Freaky. I'd seen the trailer for it, thought it looked okay, watched the film, became obsessed. Even my mum really enjoyed this film, and it's very rare for mum to enjoy the films that I enjoy, especially since I've got a bit of a unique taste. But honest to God, absolutely such a unique film idea, and just, I love our main character. I think it's Samara Weaving? Yes, Samara Weaving. She did so amazing in this role. All the other characters in this were just brilliant. And this was the reason why when we got announced for Scream 5, because the directors of this were doing it, I felt calmer about Scream 5. When I heard we were going to get a new Scream film without Wes Craven, I panicked. I thought, oh, it's not going to be that great. Then I heard that the directors of this were doing it, and I felt so much better because they did such an amazing job with this film. In fact, I'd love a number 2. I'd love to see a Ready or Not Part 2. Just to see what would happen to her character, things like that. But honest to God, if you have not watched Ready or Not, this is highly, highly recommended. Okay, we're now to the top 3. Some people probably know what these top 3 are. But if you don't, at number 3, Gremlins. There was no way I was not going to include this on my list. The second and third one, I was struggling to pick which one I wanted where. But I absolutely love this film. Gizmo's the absolute cutest. I want my own Gizmo. Just, But yeah, so to me, it's not an absolute horror. But it is quite creepy. It's in the sense of the Gremlins down here. But Gizmo's such a cute mogwai. And just, it is funny at points as well. This is, you could technically count as a Christmas film / horror film. So you could watch pretty much any time of the year. But honestly, Gremlins, absolutely amazing film. If you want a easy starter film into horror, definitely recommend this one, because the Gremlins can be a little bit creepy, but there's not much in the way of blood or gore or anything like that. So if you want to ease yourself into horror, definitely one I'd recommend. Okay, at number 2 is my favourite vampire film of all time, and I had to include it on this list. Fright Night, the original Fright Night. Oh my God, this was the vampire film that got me into vampires. I love this film from start to finish. I think it's absolutely amazing. The special effects in this are amazing. I mean, this steelbook is absolutely amazing. Look at that. I've got 2 of the steelbooks. I've got the other one here. But honest to God, if you have not watched Fright Night, definitely recommend you do. In fact, I recommend all the top 5s because they are brilliant. But the makeup effects in this are good. The mythology for vampires is good in this. Just the characters are fun. I don't get annoyed by any of them, and it's just, honestly, this is where my vampire obsession started when it came to movies. Oh my God. If you have not watched Fright Night, definitely recommend you do. However, at my number 1, if you could not tell by the jumper that I am currently wearing, it is Scream, the horror movie that got me into horror. So I had seen bits of horror here and there growing up, and I wasn't a massive fan of it. I was too scared for my own liking. Then I watched Scream, and ever since then, I became obsessed with horror. And it's all thanks to the lovely Wes Craven. R.I.P. you brilliant man. I love this film. This is my absolute favourite franchise of all time. Just this meta. It's like they did Wes Craven's New Nightmare, and that was sort of like the prelude, as they say, to Scream, because this is absolutely meta. I mean, this is kids talking about horror movies, and yet they're in one. And they're talking about the horror movie tropes, and they go through them all, and they talk about the rules and the characters. You've got Sydney, Dewey, Gail, you've got Billy, Stu, Tatum, just Randy, like so many good characters in this film. And just honest to God, this franchise is absolutely amazing. This is the franchise that got me into horror, and I love every single one of the films. I do not hate a single one. One of them would be definitely at the bottom just because it's not as impactful as the other ones, but I do not hate a single film. So this is one of those very rare franchises where a sequel has been a hit every single time. I don't think there's one that I dislike the most or anything like that. It's, honest to God, the opening scene in this, so iconic. Just, honest to God, you wouldn't expect it. The creepy voice guy, I love him. Roger Jackson. It creeps me out. But Ghostface is one of the absolute most badass characters ever. And just, honest to God, if you have not watched Scream, definitely 100% watch this film. So yeah, so that is my top 10 horror movies. Like I said, this is interchangeable. Apart from the top 5, that will never change. But the rest could change depending on what I'm watching or rewatching, things like that. But no, so I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, then do give it a thumbs up. And if you are new to this channel, then go ahead, hit that subscribe button and also notification bell down below to be notified when I post. And also leave me your top 10 horror movies. What is yours? Are yours like mine, where there's a mix of classic and modern? Let me know in the comments down below. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye!